Hello, my name is Carol Miller. For most of my 74 years, I believed that a mother's love was boundless, a wellspring that should never run dry, no matter the cost. I dedicated my entire life, every penny I earned, every dream I cherished, to my only daughter, Emily. I pictured her growing up, strong and kind, always knowing she had my unwavering support. But on her 43rd birthday, surrounded by the very luxuries I'd helped provide, I received a gift I could never have imagined. She looked me in the eye, and with a voice that cut me to the bone, she shouted, "The best gift would be if you died." So, I did something I never thought possible. I disappeared. Before we go any further, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you listen in the comments. The golden glow of a Scottsdale November morning, usually a balm for Carol Miller's soul, felt particularly heavy today, reflecting the unacknowledged burdens she carried to her daughter's door. It was Emily's 43rd birthday, a day that typically brought a flutter of hopeful anticipation. Yet this year, a familiar knot of dread tightened in Carol's stomach. She thought of the countless birthdays, holidays, and milestones she had poured her heart and meager savings into, always seeking that elusive spark of genuine affection from her only child. This quiet Tuesday, November 7th, 2023, just days before Thanksgiving, promised to be no different, yet Carol clung to a fragile hope. In her neat, slightly old-fashioned two-bedroom condo, the air was thick with the comforting aroma of baking. Carol, a retired math professor with kind, silver-flecked eyes that crinkled at the corners when she smiled, meticulously slid Emily's favorite pumpkin pie from the oven. It was a cherished family recipe, passed down through generations, its spiced sweetness a stark contrast to the bitterness that often permeated her interactions with Emily. She carefully wrapped a delicate pearl necklace, an heirloom from her own mother, a piece Emily had once admired, hoping it might bridge the growing chasm between them. As she dressed, choosing her favorite turquoise blazer, a color she believed symbolized hope, she reflected on the endless stream of sacrifices that had shaped her life. Working extra shifts, selling her late husband's engagement ring, taking out a second mortgage on this very condo to fund Emily's myriad whims. There were the semesters of costly private university, 3 extravagant weddings, the initial investment for Emily's struggling aesthetic clinic, and even a substantial down payment for Emily's sprawling Scottsdale mansion. Each sacrifice chipped away at Carol's own deferred dreams, particularly her longing to explore Italy's art museums, a lifelong passion she had shared with her late husband. Before heading to Emily's, Carol made her usual stop at the Daily Grind, her favorite local coffee shop. The place buzzed with morning chatter, the clatter of ceramic mugs, and the comforting scent of roasted beans. As she savored her pumpkin spice latte, her gaze fell upon a young man, perhaps in his early 30s, intensely sketching at a small corner table. He had a scruffy beard and intricate yet faded tattoos visible on his forearms. His clothes, though clean, were well worn, and he radiated a quiet sense of struggle. Carol overheard him quietly asking the barista about the cheapest coffee option. A pang of empathy, that deep maternal instinct she often stifled, stirred within her. Without a moment's hesitation, Carol discreetly ordered a hearty breakfast sandwich and a large coffee, adding a generous tip. She approached his table gently. "Excuse me, young man," she began, her voice soft. "This is on me, and your art, it's quite captivating. Keep at it." The young man looked up, startled, his eyes widening from behind weary lids. "Thank you, ma'am," he mumbled, genuinely touched. That's incredibly kind. I was just laid off last week from my design job, and honestly, I was about to give up." Carol offered a warm, encouraging smile. "Sometimes a little kindness goes a long way. Happy creating." She turned and left, a quiet satisfaction spreading through her, never expecting anything in return. The desert sun felt warm on Carol S.'s back as she finally arrived at Emily S. mansion, its modern stucco facade adorned with tasteful fall gourds and wreaths. She knocked, pumpkin pie and gift in hand, a hopeful smile plastered on her face. The door opened, but Emily's eyes barely left her smartphone screen. "Oh, it's you, Mom," she murmured, stepping aside without a hug or a kiss. Carol felt a familiar pang of disappointment, the kind she had learned to brace herself for. She walked through the opulent foyer, feeling less like a beloved parent and more like a delivery person, placing the pie gently on the pristine Italian marble countertop, another of her unacknowledged contributions to Emily's lavish lifestyle. Emily mumbled about needing to finish a call and disappeared into another room. Carol stood alone, the grand, empty spaces of the house echoing her growing sense of isolation, watching her grandsons, Noah and Ethan, splash happily in the infinity pool with their swim instructor, utterly unaware of her presence. Emily finally re-entered the kitchen, radiating polished indifference. She opened the Sub-Zero fridge for sparkling water. Without making eye contact, she asked, "So, Mom, just dropping off the pie, or are you staying for dinner with Mark and me? We have plans later." Her voice, flat and uninviting, was a chilling confirmation of Carol's worst fears. Carol swallows hard, trying to keep the tremble from her voice. "I thought, maybe we could spend some time together. It's your birthday, after all. And it's been weeks." Emily sighs dramatically, finally meeting Carol's gaze, her expression tight. "Mom, we need to talk. Sit down." A cold dread settles in Carol's stomach. She knows that tone. The air in Emily's designer kitchen seemed to congeal, thick with an unspoken cruelty that pierced Carol far deeper than any physical blow. The polite invitation to sit down, delivered with a sigh, was merely a prelude to a conversation Carol instinctively knew would be anything but cordial. The chill from the Sub-Zero refrigerator paled in comparison to the icy detachment in her daughter I.'s demeanor. This wasn't merely about dinner plans, this was about something fundamental shifting, something irrevocably breaking. Carol, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, sat on one of the cold, minimalist stools at the Italian marble island. Emily, in her effortlessly chic attire, began slowly, a delicate dance around a core of granite. She swirled the sparkling water in her glass, her gaze drifting around the impeccably designed room, avoiding her mother's expectant eyes. "I've been giving a lot of thought lately, Mom," Emily mused, her voice smooth, almost contemplative, "about what truly constitutes happiness for me, especially now, around my birthday." Carol, clinging to the thread of hope that perhaps Emily was about to express some appreciation, some need for connection, offered a gentle nod. "Of course, my dear. Please speak your mind. Perhaps there's a way I can assist." Emily's glass finally landed on the countertop with a deliberate, soft thud. Her eyes, cool and direct, finally met Carol's. There was no warmth, no flicker of affection, not even the fleeting impatience Carol had become so adept at navigating. Instead, a stark, chilling disdain resonated from their depths. "Honestly, Mom," Emily stated, her words slow and measured, each syllable a calculated strike. "The singular gift I desire above all others for my birthday is for you to simply cease to exist in my life. Ideally, that you would just die. The world outside the kitchen windows, the golden Scottsdale sun, the distant hum of traffic, all faded into a deafening roar." Carol felt a physical compression in her chest, the very air evacuating her lungs. "What did you say?" she managed to whisper, her throat suddenly constricted and dry. Emily, unwavering, continued, her tone now clinically precise. "You heard me, Mom. I am utterly exhausted by your presence, your incessant phone calls, your unannounced visits, your antiquated advice, and frankly, your constant need for emotional validation. It's all too much. I'm suffocating." Carol's hands, resting on her knees, began an uncontrollable tremor. 74 years of life, 43 years of being Emily's mother, and never, not even in her darkest fears, had she conceived of such an utterance. "Emily," Carol pleaded, hot tears pricking at her eyes, threatening to spill over. I am your mother. Every fiber of my being, every single resource I possessed, I devoted entirely to you. Emily rose abruptly from her stool, her movements sharp and decisive. Precisely, and that's precisely the issue. Your devotion is a smothering blanket. I yearn for space. I crave genuine freedom. I need to navigate my own life without the oppressive weight of your expectations and all your emotional drama. Carol's gaze drifted to the pumpkin pie, still resting on the counter, its vibrant orange now appearing muted, almost lifeless. The unlit candles, symbols of celebration, sat forlornly in their box. Every joyful image she had harbored for this day, shared laughter, heartfelt embraces, creating new memories, evaporated like smoke, leaving behind a vast, echoing emptiness. But, Emily, Carol tried, her voice a fragile whisper, I only ever wished to be near you, to be a part of your journey. You are everything to me. Emily folded her arms across her chest, a gesture of finality. And that, Mom, is the crux of the problem, that I am everything to you. It's time you constructed a life of your own and simply left me to mine. Summoning what little strength remained, Carol slowly pushed herself from the stool. Her legs felt weak, precarious, threatening to give way beneath her. She clutched her purse and the small, still unopened package containing the pearl necklace, a family heirloom intended to symbolize enduring love, now merely a heavy weight in her hand. The pie, she decided, would remain. Perhaps the boys, Noah and Ethan, in their youthful innocence, might one day appreciate its simple warmth, unlike their mother. I find it impossible to comprehend these words, Carol murmured, her voice barely audible above the sudden pounding in her ears, after every single thing I have done for you. Emily's response was a sharp, mirthless laugh, laced with sarcasm. Everything you've done, Mom, she retorted, has always been for your benefit, to satiate your need to be needed, to exert your control over my life. But I am no longer a child. I no longer require your suffocating presence. Carol, each step a profound exertion, moved towards the grand front door. It felt as though every footfall added years to her already weary frame. At the threshold, she paused, turning for one last, desperate look, searching for any glimmer of remorse in Emily's eyes, any vestige of the sweet, loving child she had nurtured. But there was only impatience, a palpable eagerness for her mother's departure, so that Emily might resume her life, apparently unburdened by Carol's existence. Happy birthday, Emily, Carol whispered, her voice barely a breath, before gently closing the heavy oak door behind her. The click resonated with a finality that echoed the void within her. Back in the quiet solitude of her condo, Emily's brutal words, that you just died, reverberated through every fiber of Carol's being. She endured a sleepless night, a relentless parade of sacrifices, every penny spent, every deferred dream flashing through her mind. She revisited her youthful aspiration to travel to Italy, a shared vision with her late husband, always relegated to the background for Emily's latest requirement, her latest crisis, her latest fleeting desire. As the Arizona dawn painted the sky with soft hues of lavender and peach, a profound, undeniable shift occurred within Carol. The excruciating agony that had consumed her throughout the night began to transform, not into a furious indignation, though a spark of anger certainly flickered, but into an astonishing, almost luminous clarity she had never before experienced. A profound realization settled upon her, unwavering and undeniable. For decades, she had been unwittingly manipulated by a daughter who perceived her boundless love as a mere commodity, a utilitarian resource to be exploited rather than a sacred, unbreakable bond. She pondered a startling hypothetical. If she had invested the millions of dollars she had poured into Emily's life, the substantial down payments, the ceaseless tuition fees, the initial capital for the aesthetic clinic, the lavish wedding expenses, into herself if she had embarked on those long-dreamed-of travels, pursued further studies, acquired a more comfortable residence, diligently prioritized her own health, or meticulously planned for a truly serene retirement. Where would her life stand at this very moment? Certainly not confined within these familiar condo walls, painstakingly counting the dwindling remnants of her pension, perpetually postponing her own vital medical treatments, all to continue propping up a daughter who now openly wished her demise. With a newfound unyielding sense of purpose, a quiet, formidable resolve hardening her spirit, Carol reached for her phone. Her hand, now steady and unwavering, navigated the digital interface. She systematically blocked Emily's number. Then, with the same deliberate precision, Mark's. And finally, every other contact number associated with Emily's immediate family. It was a gesture, outwardly small and seemingly insignificant, yet monumentally powerful in its symbolic weight, her definitive first act of self-preservation in over 4 decades. The morning sun, now a symbol of renewal, streamed into Carol's condo as she prepared for a new kind of day, one where every step was meticulously calculated for herself, not for her daughter. The defiant act of blocking Emily's numbers, a gesture so simple yet so profound, had cleared a path in her mind, illuminating a purpose she hadn't known she possessed. The lingering ache in her heart was still present, a phantom limb of grief, but beneath it thrummed a quiet, unwavering resolve. Today was not about despair, it was about deliverance. Dressed in a sharp, tailored blazer and matching slacks, Carol felt a subtle shift in her posture, a straightening of her spine that mirrored the newfound clarity in her soul. This was not merely an outfit for errands. It was a silent declaration of her independence, a uniform for her liberation. Her first destination was First National Bank, a familiar brick-and-mortar edifice she had frequented for decades. Inside, the hushed murmur of transactions and the low hum of computers provided a backdrop to her mission. Mr. Henderson, the branch manager, a kindly man with silvering temples who had handled Carol's family accounts for years, greeted her warmly from behind his desk. "Good morning, Mrs. Miller. Lovely to see you. How can I help you today?" he inquired, his smile genuinely friendly. Carol returned his smile, a polite but firm curve of her lips that surprised even herself. "Good morning, Mr. Henderson. I'd like to close the joint emergency account I share with my daughter, Emily Peterson, account number 452-678-91, and please transfer all funds to my personal savings account." Mr. Henderson paused, his brow furrowing slightly, a flicker of surprise in his eyes, but his professionalism quickly took over. He consulted his computer, confirming the substantial balance, $180,000 USD, carefully built over the years by Carol for Emily's supposed emergencies. "Are you certain, Mrs. Miller? That's a considerable sum," he cautioned gently. Carol met his gaze, her own steady and unwavering. "Certain, Mr. Henderson. Please proceed." As she signed the necessary forms, her hand, once trembling with despair, now moved with a calm, decisive motion. She felt a palpable sense of power returning to her, a small but significant victory in her long personal war. The money, her money, was finally her own again. Her next stop was Scottsdale Realty and Loan Services, a modern office building whose polished glass exterior seemed to gleam with the promise of future mortgages and dreams. She was directed to Ms. Davies, a professional and efficient loan officer. "I need to review the terms of the financing agreement where I appear as co-signer for the property at 123 Desert Bloom Drive," Carol stated, her voice clear and without hesitation. Ms. Davies, accustomed to various financial inquiries, efficiently retrieved the thick folder. As the loan officer sifted through the documents, Carol's mind drifted back 5 years to the day she had first signed those papers. Emily had been effusive, her eyes shining with what Carol had mistaken for genuine gratitude. "You're our guardian angel, Mom. I love you so much." Emily had tearfully embraced her, Mark echoing profuse thanks, promising never to miss a payment. How naive she had been, Carol thought, suppressing a sigh. Now, Carol meticulously examined each page, her math professor's brain dissecting the legal jargon. She asked precise questions about her rights and obligations should the primary borrowers default, probing for every nuance. Ms. Davies explained with detached professionalism that while Carol was indeed responsible for payments if Emily and Mark failed, she also possessed significant rights to initiate a claim or even reclaim the property under certain conditions, particularly if there was a documented risk of default or if payments had already been missed. A memory, seemingly insignificant at the time, resurfaced. Emily, just last week, had casually complained about Marcello's latest bad investment and, almost as an afterthought, mentioned a slight hiccup with their last mortgage payment. A quiet, almost imperceptible glint entered Carol's eyes. She carefully collected copies of all the crucial documents, a strategic gleam replacing her earlier vulnerability. Carol's final destination of the morning was New Horizons Travel Agency, a welcoming space adorned with vibrant posters of distant lands. For years, she had kept a worn brochure from them tucked away in her nightstand, a secret testament to possibilities always just out of reach. It listed programs for retirees abroad and new beginnings. She met Sarah, a bright-eyed agent whose youthful enthusiasm was infectious. "I saw your program for retirees abroad," Carol began, settling into a comfortable armchair, a subtle thrill sparking within her. "I'd like comprehensive information on how a 74-year-old woman can start a new life in Florence, Italy." Sarah's eyes widened slightly at the specific request, sensing this was more than just a vacation inquiry. Carol then explained her deeply personal reason. A lifelong fascination with Renaissance art and history, a dream she had shared with her late husband, always deferred for Emily's relentless family needs and the financial demands that followed. Sarah, with a keen understanding of the profound significance of this request, provided detailed information on long-stay visas, expat communities, Italian language classes, and cultural tours. Carol listened, her heart expanding with each new possibility. She felt an unprecedented lightness, a quiet thrill building inside her as she booked an open-ended one-way flight. This wasn't an escape, she realized. This was a meticulously planned embarkation, a purposeful charting of her own course. Back in her condo, the afternoon sun cast long shadows across her kitchen table. Carol carefully laid out the retrieved bank statements, the thick stack of loan documents, and the colorful travel brochures for Florence. The stark numbers on the bank statements, representing decades of immense sacrifice and staggering financial loss, now sat beside glossy images of ancient cathedrals and sun-drenched piazzas, hinting at newfound potential. Her assets, once a bottomless well for Emily, were now firmly under her control, poised to fund the life she truly deserved. She had systematically dismantled Emily's safety net, piece by piece, not out of malice, but out of an unshakable need for self-preservation. That evening, Carol sits at her writing desk, a crisp, blank sheet of paper before her. "My dearest Emily," she begins to write, her pen gliding across the page. This letter, full of decades of unspoken truths and newfound resolve, will be her ultimate act of disappearing. The gentle chime of a Florentine church bell, signaling noon, was a world away from the frantic, increasingly desperate vibrations of Carol's silenced phone, carrying whispers of a life she had bravely abandoned. The decisive act of blocking Emily's calls and writing that weighty letter had created not an emptiness, but a quiet space within Carol, a space now filling with the intoxicating newness of Florence. The familiar warmth of the Arizona sun had been replaced by a cooler, ancient light, filtering through stained glass and echoing through cobbled streets. Carol's long flight from Phoenix Sky Harbor to Florence via a transatlantic connection had been surprisingly restful. For the first time in what felt like decades, she felt truly alone, not in a lonely way, but in a liberated way. No one knew exactly where she was. No one could call demanding favors or money or her time. She spent much of the journey writing in a new leather-bound journal she had bought at the airport, carefully detailing her feelings of profound liberation, the raw pain of Emily's words, and the astonishing clarity that followed. Landing on Monday morning local time, a charming young representative from New Horizons named Miguel greeted her warmly. He spoke Italian with a melodious accent, his enthusiasm contagious. Miguel escorted her to her temporary, beautifully furnished apartment in the Oltrarno district, a part of Florence known for its artisans and quiet charm, with windows that opened onto a lively piazza below. After settling in, simply unpacking her 2 suitcases and making a cup of tea, Carol took her first solo walk through the narrow, cobbled streets. She marveled at the ancient architecture, the vibrant colors of the shops, and the scent of fresh bread and espresso wafting from small cafes. She savored a rich Italian espresso at a tiny cafe tucked into an alleyway, feeling an intoxicating sense of freedom, a lightness she hadn't known in decades. This city, steeped in history and art, already felt like a burgeoning home, a stark and welcome contrast to the familiar yet suffocating opulence of Scottsdale. Back in Scottsdale, Arizona, the silence from Carol S. End was slowly but surely unraveling Emily Peterson's meticulously constructed world. 6 months had passed since Carol's arrival in Florence, a period of profound healing and burgeoning joy. Then, the inevitable call came from Dorothy. Carol, now seated in a bustling Florentine cafe, listened intently. Emily's mansion, the grand edifice built on Carol's sacrifices, had indeed been foreclosed. Mark, unable to recover from his ill-fated investments, had dragged them further into financial distress, and without Carol's co-signing, the bank had proceeded with foreclosure. Emily and Mark, stripped of their lavish lifestyle, had moved into a modest apartment in a less affluent part of Scottsdale. Both were now working regular jobs, their once effortless affluence a distant memory. Carol felt a quiet, profound satisfaction, not of schadenfreude, but of justice, a recognition that actions truly have consequences. Soon after, Mr. Vargas confirmed the financial restitution. Carol had not only recovered her initial $1.8 million investment in Emily S. house, but also accumulated interest. Carol's net worth now exceeds an astonishing $6 million. She celebrated this newfound financial abundance, toasting herself with a fine Spanish cava in a quaint Florentine restaurant. The following year, drawn by the vibrant energy and artistic legacy, Carol decided to move from Florence to Barcelona, where she purchased a beautiful, light-filled apartment overlooking the shimmering Mediterranean Sea, a tangible symbol of her absolute freedom. Carol's book, When Love Hurts, Finding Freedom from Familial Emotional Abuse After 70, propelled by David's brilliant design and Montserrat's expert marketing, became a global sensation. It was translated into 8 languages, its message resonating deeply with countless women. Letters poured in from every corner of the world, each one a testament to the profound impact of her story. Women recounted how Carol's journey had given them the courage to set their own boundaries, to reclaim their lives from the relentless demands of ungrateful adult children. One letter, particularly moving, arrived from a young mother named Paula, aged 32. Paula confessed that after reading Carol's book, she realized she was inadvertently treating her own mother exactly as Emily had treated Carol. The book had opened her eyes, inspiring her to apologize to her mother and, more importantly, to actively help her mother fulfill her own deferred dreams, rather than always expecting endless support. Carol wept with joy, recognizing the profound, far-reaching impact of her journey, a legacy extending far beyond her personal happiness. 2 years after her decisive disappearance, a physical letter, bearing familiar handwriting, arrived in Carol's Barcelona mailbox. Her heart quickened as she recognized the youthful, developing script. It was from Noah and Ethan, now 14 years old. Their father, Mark, had finally mustered the courage to tell them the truth about why their grandmother had left. "Dear Grandma Carol," they wrote, their adolescent calligraphy earnest. "Dad finally told us everything. He said Mom said some really mean things to you, and that's why you decided to start a new life without us. We want you to know we miss you terribly, and we understand why you left. We're also really proud of you for being so brave. When we're older, we'd really like to visit you in Spain, if you'd still have us." The letter included 2 charming drawings, one of Carol happily exploring the streets of Barcelona, another of her drinking coffee on a balcony by the sea. Carol cried for an hour after reading it, not from sadness, but from a profound sense of vindication and love, a confirmation that her decision to preserve her dignity had been the right one, even if it meant a temporary distance from those she cherished. She penned a heartfelt reply, affirming her enduring love and leaving the doors to her heart and her home in Barcelona open for them, for when they were truly ready to seek her out, independent of their parents' influence. A year later, an email from Emily arrived, the first direct contact in 3 years. Emily wrote, "Mom, I read your book. I never imagined how much I hurt you, how much you sacrificed for me, how much I took you for granted during my entire life. I'm not asking you to come back or forgive me. I just want you to know I finally understood, though it was the hardest way possible. I hope you're truly happy, Mom. You deserve all the happiness in the world." Carol read the email 3 times, each reading bringing a pang of mingled sorrow and satisfaction. She didn't reply. Some bridges, once burned, redefine the landscape rather than being rebuilt. Carol, now 77, sits on the balcony of her Barcelona apartment, gazing at the Mediterranean Sea. She reflects on her journey, from a broken, humiliated mother, defined by sacrifice and unacknowledged burdens, to an independent, financially secure woman, surrounded by genuine friends, and having left a profound legacy that spanned continents. She has truly found peace and a life beyond her wildest dreams. Emily asked for a birthday gift, that I disappear, Carol muses, her heart full. I granted her wish in the most extraordinary way possible. What she never calculated was that in losing me, she didn't just lose a mother who loved her unconditionally. She lost the person who held her entire world stable for decades. My disappearance was my gift to her. My new life was my gift to myself. And it was worth every tear, every sacrifice, every moment of pain, to be reborn as the woman I was always meant to be. The shimmering expanse of the Mediterranean from Carol's Barcelona balcony now served as a tranquil mirror, reflecting not just the endless sky but the profound journey of a woman who dared to disappear to truly be found. Her story, woven with threads of sacrifice, heartbreak, and ultimately triumphant rebirth, whispers a timeless truth that echoes far beyond the sun-drenched streets of Florence or the quiet warmth of a Scottsdale coffee shop. It reminds us that while the surface of a person or a situation might present one image, perhaps of struggle or even of entitlement, true wisdom lies in looking deeper, past the immediate veneer to the heart of what truly matters.